There's no long-term strategic thinking. What are you gonna do in 10 years? You have no idea, dude.
I have some ideas.
You have no idea. Alan from 10 years ago would have been just as convinced that you would know where you'd be today. And this is nowhere close.
It's actually surprisingly closer than I thought.
If you're close, then you're thinking small. Because you have no idea what you're capable of in a 10-year window. Like if you can pinpoint now where you're gonna be in 2033, I'm pissed. The only way to have long-term strategic thinking is if you're in a very stable, set, boring life. I'm at a law firm and I'm gonna be junior partner and then senior partner. And like the life has been mapped out for you. That's the only way to have long-term strategic thinking.
But in terms of chess moves,
you have no idea,
the
dude.
grandmasters can think 15 moves ahead,
But
beginners can only think 3.
But chess has
Yeah,
rules.
that's fair.
Life has no rules. If you plan 10 years out, you're operating from 2023 rules.
Fair.
And maybe 2024 if you're like super genius. But where you're gonna be in 10 years, who knows, dude?
So one thing we have noticed with our demographics, primarily women,
Okay.
that are their dream chasers, they want to be entrepreneurs. A lot of them are very emotionally driven. Alan, as a coach, will help them become more logically driven. What, from your perspective, what do people need more of? Do they need to tap into, and I know it's a blanket statement, but do they need to tap into their emotions, or do they need to understand the logical side of success where you get a little bit better? Like, what's your take on logic versus emotion?
I think everybody's emotional, and then we use logic to kind of justify why we're doing something. I think my solution has been, if you had asked me this, I don't know, 20 years ago, I would have said I'm a logical person, but I'm actually emotional, and then use logic to help me. And I think the answer becomes big decisions with the heart, small ones with the head. The big decisions in your life should be emotional decisions. Why are you starting this business? Who are you with as a partner? Like, these are emotional decisions. Like if you guys are only together because of logic, it's gonna fall apart. It's just what happened. If you're starting this show because a podcast is like the thing to do in 2020, like
Right.
It's over. Like forget it, you've lost, right? So emotion has to be at the foundation level. But emotion alone doesn't do anything. You then need to use your brain to help you figure out, okay, how do I actually go off and do it? So I love Alan, awesome. Well, what are we gonna do together? Well, you know, you're not just gonna say, hey, I love hanging out with you, let's hang out. Right? They're like, or we're gonna start a podcast. Like, okay, well, we need a topic. We need a camera. We need, like, you use your head to help you figure out how to do the thing. But I think everybody has both and needs both. And I think ultimately, even people who identify as logical are actually emotional at the core, and then just are buried in logic to help justify their emotions.
How do you help somebody, and it can be you personally, how do you help somebody take the medicine that they don't think they want or they don't think they need? Usually the thing that's holding us back is the thing that we want the least. If we wanted it, we'd already have the result. How do you help somebody adopt, hey, you need to be more emotional or more logical with this?
Back to previous episode, they need to be above ground. So if they're like buried deep underground and hate their life and like it's just toxic everywhere around, they can't hear that message of here's what you need to fix. There's no way. So you're meeting them where they're at, you're hugging them, you're encouraging them, even though you know like they're screwing up in a million ways, it's too raw. You can't touch that because they're gonna start screaming and freaking out, right? So you have to get them to the point. Like if somebody is all like raw and skin and bone, like they can't go off and start working out. Like heal your crazy wounds, dude, before you get in the pool and start swimming or something, right? So like that's the part. Most people at the beginning need to heal their wounds so that they're ready for the next step. Once they're there, then it's about trust and rapport. Like, do you know what they want? Are you actually pushing them on the thing that they want versus the thing you would do? Right? One of my favorite things to do when I'm talking about coaching people, I have an analogy that I call wear their skin. So like I'm telling you what Kevin should do, not what Evan would do in Kevin's shoes. I become you, but like better you, future you, empowered you, fully believe you. And it's like, and then it resonates because I'm just holding up a truth mirror, where this sometimes takes on really weird things. Like I'll give advice that I would never take myself. I'll sometimes swear at people. It's like, wow, I remember one woman who was coaching, it's like, I've never heard you swear before. It's like, I didn't swear, that was you. Like, I'm you. I'm just being you. Yeah, it's like wearing their skin. That's one of the things we talked before about, like, things that people can connect. This is a harder thing to connect to. But when I was yelling at you in the lobby, that wasn't me. That was you yelling at yourself.
Is that intuitive, where you can get a
Right.
read on me and say, this is exactly what Kevin needs? How do you know?
I don't know. Like, I think the best, if I haven't done a deep dive to kind of analyze that, right? It's like, how do you hit a baseball? I don't know. Like, it comes and you swing, right? A lot of the best hitters, like Ted Williams was the greatest hitter of all time, but he sucked as a coach. Like, he couldn't transfer that skill to other people. So I haven't codified that in a great way. The easiest starting point is to figure out their one word, right? To figure out what their most important core value is, because if it's actually who they are, that's the push. You know, like yours is resilience again, right? So if, you know, like, well, you didn't do the thumbnails. Like that, how resilient is that, Kevin? Right? It's like you're giving them, I wouldn't use that word, right? But that's not me. So in identifying that, they're giving you the leverage to help them. So a lot of people end up using your one word, or we go through a Built to Serve too, to their teams, so that if you know what that person is all about, it gives you the leverage to be able to push them on the thing that they care the most about. So understanding the most important core value, understanding their mission and what they're trying to accomplish, and then understanding where they're at. Because you could have those two things, but you're also like, you just lost your dog or something, right? Like the only time I didn't film videos was when my dog died. I filmed videos who broken neck, concussion, all of it, but when my dog died, that was the only week I've like taken off and didn't film videos. And if you came in and said, Evan, that's not very believe, and like, F you, dude, like, I don't care. Like, my dog died. I need to heal from this. And so we can't judge. Other people might have it swapped. Like, I would never film if I'm in the hospital with a broken neck, but who cares about my dog? I don't know, right? So it's understanding their emotional state, understanding their mission, understanding the most important core value, and like in that cocktail, it gives you the recipe to be able to push them.
How much inner work have you done?
I don't know, like a
Obviously,
lot.
you can't
and
quantify.
I still need to do more. You know, it's like one of those things that never gets old.
Was it hard for you to start that? Because it seems like you're very good at external. Was it hard for you to dig inside and say, I'm going to work on Evan?
No. I love taking on new things. Like, you have a different modality that you want to. Nobody's models ever quite fit me, so it's cool. But I'm happy to try on the next model. You guys, you have your 8-step personality test. Cool. I'm a electrifier. Awesome. You know, like, it never quite fits, but all of them are good paths. Like, I'm not locked into one modality. Like, it's got to be the Colby score. It's got to be the Myers-Briggs. There's got to be the whatever. But they all teach you a little bit about yourself. Even down to, I just had my DNA tested, and from the DNA test, they show you, hey, based on your genes, you're more susceptible to these kinds of foods and this kind of activity and all this kind of stuff. Like, okay, those are like, they're averages. So it's a good starting point. I love trying stuff. I love trying stuff for me to learn, and also to demonstrate to other people that go try stuff. Like, I had a woman come in and do EFT on me. You know EFT? Mm-hmm. Tapping?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I didn't know what it was. So she's an EFT. Okay, cool. Let's go. Let's do it. So we sat here and I tapped on my whatever and did all the stuff. Okay, cool. I had Marissa Peer do hypnotherapy on me in a live session. She was, I don't know if Marissa Peer, but she was in UK and we did it over Zoom. And it's like, okay, lie down on the floor. Like, okay, adjust the camera. Here am I lying on the floor. And then she lost her internet connection halfway through. So I'm still like lying on it. Are we done? Is it still happening? Right? But I love, as long as it's not like hurting somebody, or if I'm going to throw somebody, like, what I won't do is throw somebody under the bus. Like, I won't do a live therapy session that like digs into my parents or something, right? That's where I would, like, hurting somebody else or potentially hurting somebody else is where I would draw the line on it, or something that might cause physical pain, I guess. But apart from that, like, any question or any personality test or any modality, like, everything is it's two part of me learning more, but also if we make it public, it's showing other people. I did a session with Gary Vee's life coach, Beth Handel, I don't know if you heard of her, but first off, like, Gary Vee has a life coach. I thought he was the life coach. Like, this is cool. Like, whoever's coaching him, I want to talk to her. Let's see what happens. And they asked me to fill out this intake questionnaire before they do a session. And I said, well, let's just do it live. Like, ask me those questions live. And they're like, oh, but they're like really personal questions, and like nobody wants this to be on YouTube. And like, no, I do. Like just ask me the questions live. Like, are you sure? It's like, yeah, we'll just do a live. And so like the whole intake process plus then her advice was all on the session, and we didn't edit anything out. I like that, right? Like I think it makes me feel good that like, oh, other people aren't doing it. Okay, cool, I'm gonna do it. Let's go. I'm strong enough to do this. Let's go, hoorah.
Hoorah.
But then also, it hopefully serves other people watching this show like, hey, therapy is not bad, self-exploration isn't bad, doing personality tests isn't bad, like try it out, see what fits. So whatever, if you said like, hey, before we start the show, we all have to like touch this crystal and say something 3 times in a row and dance in a circle, okay, whatever, that's your style. And if it works, then hey, guys, this crystal is the thing. Or it's like, those guys have some weird techniques, but cool, it works for them. That's not judging. Like I believe that it works for you. Cool. Like I remember one of Tony's thing is he had this guy come in and was doing like energy work, and it's like you rub your hands together and then like feel the energy ball between your hands, and then like wider and like feel the energy, and then like put your hand over the person next to you and feel their energy, and it's like, and I'm doing it and like I feel nothing. I don't feel any energy. My hand's getting higher. I feel nothing. I put my hand over Nina's head. Nothing. Like I'm not getting it. Like it's not working. But I believe that other people had the experience, right? Like when other people are like, oh man, that was crazy. Like oh, like that's awesome. Like I didn't experience it. So I'm not going to lie and say that was great. But I'm also not going to say that's all BS. Like I believe that thing worked for you. I just haven't figured out the way for it to work for me yet.
Which one do you think you're more well developed in? Logic, long-term strategic thinking, rationality, or emotion?
I don't think there's no long-term strategic thinking. What's long-term strategic? What are you going to do in 10 years? You have no idea, dude.
I have some ideas.
You have no idea, dude. Alan from 10 years ago would have been just as convinced that you would know where you'd be today. And this is nowhere close.
It's actually surprisingly closer than I thought.
If you're close, then you're thinking small. Because you have no idea what you're capable of in a 10-year window. Like if you can pinpoint now where you're going to be in 2033 or whatever, dude, like I'm pissed. Because you should be president. Not like have X number of people following you or some BS metric or whatever is actually on your list for 10 years. Like there is no long-term strategic thinking. The only way to have long-term strategic thinking is if you're in a very stable, set, boring life. Like I'm at a law firm and I'm going to be junior partner and then senior partner, and like the life has been mapped out for you. That's the only way to have long-term strategic thinking. You hate your life. It's all been mapped out for you.
But in terms of chess moves,
you have no idea,
the
dude.
grandmasters can think 15 moves ahead. But beginners can only think 3.
But chess has rules.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Life has no rules. You're operating from, if you plan 10 years out, you're operating from 2023 rules.
That's fair.
And maybe 2024 if you're like super genius. But where you're going to be in 10 years, who knows, dude? There is no long-term strategic thinking. Like only on major macro trends, right? If you said AI is going to be a big deal in 10 years. Okay, cool. What does that mean for you? I don't know.
Create a virtual reality school where people can get education.
But maybe you should be president. And you're off running your stupid virtual reality school.
But I'm not called to that.
But you're not called for it yet.
Oh.
That's the problem. Like, so ultimately, there's nothing wrong with having 10-year goals. What's wrong is not jumping off after year 2 because you found something better.
Right.
That's the problem.
Well, I'm presupposing pivots and evolution.
But you can't. Like, then you don't know where you're going to be in 10 years. You have to have the flexibility to jump off and say, this is better.
Right. But you have to have the clarity and the certainty to move forward to gain momentum so that you go get more clarity and then allow it to evolve and flex.
Or be comfortable moving forward without certainty.
Fair.
Because you don't know where you're going to be in 10 years. Like if I said, I'm going to have 10 million subscribers on my YouTube channel in 10 years. Cool. Like I should probably jump off and start doing VR after year 4. Like screw YouTube. Maybe I should be doing something else.
Do you want to have 10 million subscribers?
No, I care about impact. I want to solve the world's biggest problem. That's all that matters. Like you have a goal, you got a big mission, and you do whatever it takes to hit that mission, and that requires a million pivots along the way.
Fair.
So it's a goal so big that I'm never gonna accomplish that.
It's an infinite game.
Impossible to solve, never gonna happen. And I wake up every day trying to make that thing happen, and that's the only thing that counts.
I like it.
I think the best you can plan is like 3 months ahead. 10 years, like forget it. So whatever's long term, I don't know what we didn't define long term, but it's like the fact that you hit close to what you said 10 years pisses me off. That 10 years ago you like nailed where you're going to be right now.
What if I'm behind?
You're way behind, dude. You're way behind what you should have been. 1,000 miles behind what you should have been.
I agree.
Because you stuck to a plan that you should have kicked out 3 years in.
How do you know I didn't pivot?
Because you're here, because you're not Nostradamus, because where you were 10 years ago, you in what year is it, 2022, 2023? In 2013, there's no way 2013 Alan knows anything about 2023 Alan.
Except for the fact that I ended up a business consultant, which I did want to do in my early 20s.
Great.
The path was different, but the destiny, I think was more aligned than I anticipated.
Cool. Now, the challenge going forward the next 10 years is more variation. And forget the 10-year plan. And who cares about business consultancy and go be president or whatever. No, but like it's bigger. You're capable of doing more. Okay. And you have no idea, especially in the 10 years ahead, you have no idea what's going to happen.
You have a bag of Doritos on your desk.
Uh-huh.
So some people like that.
Excellent segue.
Yeah, thank you. Some people might say that, and they say that's a sponsorship or an ad for Doritos. What is the logical and emotional decision for you doing something like that?
I don't know. There's a logical one. The emotional one is I feel like I'm amazing every time I look at the Doritos bag because it's a reminder that damn the Doritos because I want to eat it and I'm not going to eat it. So I want to make choices that make me feel stronger, and I want to eliminate the decisions and thought process and choices that make me feel weaker and worse about myself. And this is an achiever, Navy SEALs mindset that's harder for most people to think about. Anytime I feel like this thing is making me weaker, I want to eliminate it. So the Doritos thing is about having junk food in the house. You're on a diet, get rid of the junk food. That's a crutch, cool, but the goal becomes to walk and to run eventually. So you've trained yourself to only be perfect in a certain environment, and then that's it. Then you go on a vacation or a cruise or a business conference or whatever, you run for president, you're going to eat like junk all the time, and it's over. Because you train yourself, you only win in a certain environment, right? I don't want to do that. I want to train myself to have control and crush it wherever I go. Same thing for like the phone next to the people say, and this is also very counter to what most of my contemporaries are saying, right? Like put the phone in the other room. So in the morning you wake up and you have to get out of bed and go turn off the phone. And logically, like that makes sense. Like, yeah, that makes sense. It gets me out of bed. I'll go turn off the phone and now I'm out of bed and I'm already up and so I'm going to stay up, right? Logically, that makes sense as a strategy. Emotionally, when I connect to it, I hate it, me personally, because I'm telling myself I'm not capable of just getting out of bed, so I need this little crutch, and that pisses me off. Now, I don't wake up to an alarm or like need it most of the time, so that's not my problem. But if it was, like I'm gonna have the phone right next to me. I'm gonna like, damn this phone. I'm waking up, having one alarm, not 14 that I'm snoozing 1,000 times, right? And then I'm gonna get out of bed, right? So the way that I see those things, like the snooze button, for me, I see it as you're telling yourself that you suck. Like you set a goal last night. The last thing you do at night is say, I'm going to wake up at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And then the first thing you're saying is, nope, not hitting my goals today. You just screwed like your whole day up, right? Like to rebound out of that is really hard. So I think like you're hitting the snooze on your life. So, but I'll take things to extremes like that, and that may not be like the reality for most people, right?
Have you ever eaten the Doritos?
I've never opened the bag that was in my office. I've
Gotta ask.
Yeah, like I've intentionally had, like I've had a Dorito since, right? But I like to use it as leverage.
Is there a place that you're trying to do that right now that you're struggling in?
If I knew it, I would do it. The biggest thing would be not having the awareness. As soon as it bubbles up to awareness and like it's idea to action, great things flow through me. We're doing something about this. But I'm sure there's a million things that are like subconscious, bubbling beneath that like I can't even identify. That's where it gets pulled out. Somebody asked me like, if you had time with Tony Robbins, what would you ask him? What questions? Like I wouldn't ask him. I would want him to ask me questions. Pull on something that I don't even know exists and like open my eyes, because once I know it, I'll go and take immediate action against it.
That was my next question, which is who is the guide for you in terms of pushing your buttons? And you also, I'll reframe the question. You talked about the why you do what you do is the heart, and how you actually go about doing it is the brain. What was the why and the how when you first started? Did you know that YouTube was going to be the how? And was the why always because of your deepest pain regarding entrepreneurship? And how has that shifted since?
Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, a lot of it in my first business was more, my first business was biotech software. And it was more, I didn't want to miss out. It was more fear of regret. I would rather like take the 100K job offer or start this business and make $300 a month and own 30% of it. You know, logically, like, okay, go take the job. But emotionally, like, I didn't want to miss out. So even if the most likely outcome was failure, I still wanted to at least try so I know. So I wouldn't be an old man at 40 and like hate my life that I didn't do this thing. So I took that path.
Was this pre-dot-com bubble, like dot-com bubble
Yeah,
situation?
1999.
Okay. So this was like right at the height of the dot-com bubble?
I don't remember, too.
Okay, yeah, all right.
But 1999, 2000, I was in university and kind of figuring out what to do next. So I didn't have a mission. I didn't know purpose comes from your pain. I didn't have a lot of mentors or guides. I wasn't really reading a lot of personal development, or I was like very surface level book every now and then, but it wasn't a habit by any stretch. I just did not want to live with regret. There was something from Jeff Bezos. It was like regret minimization strategy, where it's like just try to live life with as few regrets as possible. So I figured, what would I regret more? And like, okay, so I'm going to at least try so that I know, even if it failed, that I tried.
Nice.
That was the main reason. There was no like purpose, change the world. It's like, I find this fun, and I'm going to regret if I don't do it. So very simple, basic, you know. So that's how we started. When we built it, sold it, you know, had a lot of struggles. We can dive in if you want, but then ultimate success, sold it, awesome. I didn't know what to do next. And I tried a whole bunch of different things. And the thing that just stuck was trying to help out other entrepreneurs. In hindsight, it's easy to say, purpose comes from your pain. You struggle as an entrepreneur. You want to help other entrepreneurs. Like, that makes logical sense. If I was guiding somebody now and say, you want to help entrepreneurs, you should go do this thing. I fumbled around and tried to figure out a whole bunch of things, and that was just one thing that I liked that ended up sticking. The more I got into it, the more I learned, the more I had more aspirational mentors and real-life mentors. Like, who's kicking my ass? Well, Oprah's kicking my ass, and Steve Jobs is kicking my ass, and Elon Musk is kicking my ass, more than a human that I'm talking to. As much as I've got to, and maybe it's on me, like a lot of the people that I profiled, Brendan Burchard and Dean Graziosi and Tom Bilyeu and all these guys I can message. You know, like I just messaged Dean happy birthday. I just pushed Tom on an idea for his channel. I'm sure I could do a better job of asking for a help or a push, or like, hey, where do I suck, and like beat me up. So maybe that's an area of opportunity. But at the moment, I find it best by making the content for my channel, watching the content on my channel, and something hits, like, let's go, right? And all sorts of people, like Grant Cardone gets me hyped for one reason, and the Dalai Lama gets me hyped for a different reason. Like, we have all sorts of weird stuff on the channel, but it's all something that I can connect to in some way. And I've created that habit and routine for myself. So the biggest mentors I have are the people that I profile. So like aspirational mentors more than real life mentors.
Last question from me.
Let's go.
If you're on a podcast and this person that's interviewing you wants to get you emotional, whatever that means, fired up, passionate, whatever emotional means, what question should they ask you?
Ask the question that actually means something to them. Like turn into a coaching session.
Yeah.
Like the thing that got me the most fired up in our entire history is like the whole thumbnail debacle.
Scratch the itch.
Yeah, so like where are you, I think the biggest mistake podcasters make is they ask questions I think the audience would care about, and ones that they care about, but like Doritos, you already knew that story. That was a question for the audience, not as much like for you. So like kill that and ask a better question that you care about. Now I'm getting already more fired up, right? Kevin.
A lot of L's for Kevin in this segment.
No, but it's great. Like the fact that there's a lot of push, it's like it's love, right? It's like there's all these amazing areas of opportunity. Just like that video that Alex filmed and sent me of the instructors, like I I gave one piece of feedback for her and like 20 pieces of feedback for Alex, where he wasn't even watching himself in the video. He was watching her. Like, well, what should she be doing better and how can I coach her to be better? She's got it. She just needs to be less nervous. You screwed up 20 times here. Like, stop doing all this other stuff, right? So yeah, ask the question that you deeply care about. I ran this podcast with Mark Drager for maybe 2 years called Something Approved Podcast. And I would get the most pissed off at him because he was always bringing these questions that why did I pick you guys? Because I thought you would ask great questions, right? Because you do ask great questions because you actually care. Where most people ask like the same questions that they think their audience will care about, but they don't actually have any real stake. They're curious. It's not that it's like a throwaway question, but it's not the real question. You drove here from Milwaukee and are driving home overnight and canceled everything you had for these 3 days or whatever to be here. Like, what question can I serve you with? Ask that question, Kevin. That's what I want to know, right? And that gets me, I'm exaggerating, obviously. But like, that's the thing that gets me the most fired up. And I think for any podcaster, when you're bringing somebody on, hopefully like you genuinely care about having this guest on. It's not just some throwaway because there's some name. Like, you actually care. And then ask them the thing that nobody's asked them that you deeply care about.
Can I ask you one more?
Okay.
And I want to ask you this, but I know you're going to crap on it. I know you are. All right. A lot of people will say, what advice would you give 19-year-old Evan?
Okay.
I don't want to ask you that.
Okay, good.
I want to ask you, what advice is 20 years from today Evan going to give Evan today?
It's the same
I
thing.
I know you're going to crap on it, but I had to ask it because I wanted to know.
But I already answered that question.
I know, but I still wanted to ask it.
Why do you want to? I already answered that question in like a previous episode.
I want to challenge you to go deeper.
Okay, well then lead with that.
Okay, I want to challenge you to go deeper.
Okay, so you say, hey, you said the advice that you give today, like the advice 85-year-old Evan would give 42-year-old Evan is to believe more in yourself. I want to challenge you to go deep. Okay, cool. Like, lead with that.
Okay. Earlier, you said that this version of Evan would give 19-year-old version
Yeah,
of
so how are we going deeper? What do you want to know?
What's below that? How do you know nothing's going to shift?
I don't know. I don't. Like, that's the big fear. If I knew, I would do it. I don't have a problem. I'm a quick starter. Like, I have no problem taking immediate action on something. I get an idea, let's go do something. It works, doesn't work, awesome, cool, who cares, next. But I don't know. I'm doing the best that I know. If I say my biggest problem is I don't believe in myself enough, right? I can make cases for that. Like, why am I not doing huge things compared to what I'm doing right now? It's a lack of belief. It's not a lack of knowledge. I can find knowledge. It's not a lack of mentors. I can find mentors. It's a lack of belief to be able to do the next thing. But what is the next thing? I don't know. I don't know. If I knew, I would do it.
Do you think if you had the belief, you might know, and you could anticipate the future more?
Maybe. Like, I'm doing I'm following my own advice in that the best way that I've learned has been through aspirational mentorship, right? So like learning from these people, being around, like seeing what Elon Musk is doing with Twitter and learning from that through osmosis, right? And I'm pulling these pieces. And that has served me and it's helped me for now decades, and I'm continuing to do it. But it's not as fast as it could be. I'm sure there's other ways that I could speed that up, and I'm constantly open and looking. If you say, hey, Evan, like the best thing to do is every night you need to breathe through one nostril upside down, and that's the thing. Like, I'll try it, dude, let's go. I'm down for nostril upside down breathing all day long, right? If it's gonna actually help. So I don't know. I'm open. I'm hungry. Like, teach me. Show me the thing to help me do the thing. I ask people on my shows, like, how do you get people to believe in themselves more? And nobody's had an answer that feels like it's, maybe they had a great answer and I wasn't listening to it properly. I don't know. But I'm open. So for some people, they know what to do and they're just not doing it. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm doing everything that I know how to do, and I'm open to new experiences to do more, but I don't know what that next step is.
What's the best way in the past that you found out what the next thing to do is? And I know you just answered it. It's aspirational mentors.
Yeah.
Who do you think in hindsight was the most aspirational mentor that had the biggest impact on you?
Different people taught me different things, right? That's why there's such a variety of people up on the channel.
Is there anyone who stands out to you like you do to us?
Well, I think I stand out to you because of the time we've spent together as well. It's not just like you watch my content and learn something. It's also the actual push, and I can say, hey, Kevin, like, fix this, right? So no, nobody's been that. I mean, Steve, I guess, a little bit, my agent, helped me in the early days of making content, of pushing me and seeing what to fix, but nobody from a belief perspective for sure, or a high-level business strategy. People have the problem is people would tell me what they would do. You should do this, but they're not wearing my skin. Like, but I don't want to do that. That's not interesting for me. That gets like nothing going for me, right? But I still ask the question, and I'm still open to feedback. And if you guys have the answer, let's go. Like, you go be president, and I'll build this thing, and my thing will fund your campaign. Like, let's go.
Perfect.
Running some AI school in 10 years.
I know we got to jump, but I have one more question.
Okay, quick.
This is scratching my own itch, like you had requested. So I wanted to ask you this, and it was intuitive while we were talking. And I asked you this when we first met. It was many years ago. But I want to ask it again because I think it's evolved. I think your answer has evolved.
Okay.
So at the end of the Hyperconscious podcast, which is now Next Level University, in some ways thanks to you, because you challenged us to change our name.
Yeah.
My question at the end, we both had the same question we asked every guest at the end.
Okay.
Mine was you evolve, you change, you grow, you adapt. But there's something about you that never changed.
Okay.
And I think that's the truest part of you. And I think there's a plus and a minus to it.
Okay.
I think the plus is that you are now believe. I think the minus is you struggle to believe in yourself. But for you, what about you never changed? And I think I know the answer, but I want to know what your long form answer is.
What never changed like throughout my whole life?
Yeah. What's the common through line of Evan Carmichael? The one thing that never changed?
I mean, I would still say believe. It's just, it's more, because I'm aware of it, I can more consciously leverage it. Versus when I was younger and I had no idea. Like, if he's resilient and he was probably doing lots of stuff that was resilient at age 8. It's like, what are you doing? That's crazy, Kevin. But like, it comes off as weird and crazy as opposed to, no, man, I'm just resilient. Like, you suck. I'm off crushing this thing. Like, let's go, right? So like the awareness, I think in a 95-year-old Evan is still believe, but is even more confident in it, is even more living it. Whatever that means, right? Like, that's the theory. I don't have the specifics. If I knew the specifics, I'd be doing it.
Has what belief means to you evolved?
Like
how you define it?
Not really. You know, like, since I came up with it, I think if you had asked me at the beginning, if I was asking when I was 12 or something, I don't know what I would say. But it hasn't really added any more wrinkles. Like, believe in what you're doing. Believe in yourself and believe it's going to work out. It's like, that's the same thing. I don't know what I answered last time, if it's close or it's evolved or not. But it's like, believe in what you're doing, believe in yourself, and believe it's going to work out. And most people see believe as just believe in yourself.
Right.
As opposed to like, no, believe in like what you're doing, passion, like the work you do matters. And then also believe in that it will work out if you continue. That's why I care less about like what happens, this failure, whatever, it's going to work out, dude. It's going to work out. I believe it's going to work out, even though there's lots of losses. We're winning the war. We're just losing a bunch of battles as we figure out how to do it.
Well, thank you for having us for this battle. We appreciate it very much. And
Let's go.
Because of you, we believe in ourselves. I'll speak for myself. I definitely believe in myself more, so I appreciate it.
I love it. Thank you, guys. To see another awesome conversation with me, Kevin and Alan, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there. I need to have more belief. What's the problem with everybody? It's like the problem is belief. You don't believe in yourself to do the next thing. You think the problem is how. How do I X? That's not the problem. The problem is you don't believe in yourself to do the how. I can give you all the hows in the world, but until you believe in your ability to do the how, you're not going to do the thing.